Hi there, and welcome to another interview. Today, I have the wonderful Carl with me, and I will ask Carl the question I ask everybody that comes on the show. Hey, Carl, why did you become carnivore?
Well, I had a funny feeling I was going to ask that question after listening to your other interviews. But to answer the why on why I chose carnivore, I need to go back to 2015, really. 2015 was particularly a bad year for me, I got to be honest with you, with regards to work commitments and the rest of it. And it had a detrimental effect to my health. I was carrying a lot of weight anyway, but the added stress of work kind of contributed to that and made me a lot worse as a result. It was coming up to the end of 2015, so around about November. We had just had some decorating done in the house, and I went up on the ladder to put the curtain poles back up. And the next day I got up and I had a considerable amount of pain in my shoulders. So I just put it down to the fact that I was doing something a little bit more, that I'm not used to, a little bit more manual, stretching my arms up, putting the curtain poles back. But this pain, it seemed to get worse as the month went on and as we moved into December. Not just that, the pain also moved from my shoulders, as I couldn't really lift my arms much, and moved down to my hips. So to such an extent that, getting up in the morning was just a chore, really. Get up in the morning and feeling so stiff, and to the point that I needed to, I was just really going down the stairs in a very slow manner, and it was because of the pain. So I went to the doctors, and they decided to give me some blood test to find out what was wrong. Obviously, it was an inflammatory issue that I had, but they didn't really know what it was that was causing it. So they done the blood test and they called me back. And in the meantime, the pain was getting worse. So at the end of it, they said, well, it sounds like you've got what's called Polymyalgia Rheumatica, which is PMR. But they said, we're reluctant to diagnose you with that because a number of factors really is that your the CPR, the C-reactive protein test that I had wasn't that high to signify a problem, and which would give you polymyalgia. And also my age, I was 49 at the time, which was back in 2015, going to 16, 48. And they just really didn't know what to say, and they just told me to try and manage it with painkillers. So I went on some anti-inflammatory tablets. I went on painkillers to try and control this. But going into the Christmas of that year, it was terrible. The pain was awful. One of the biggest things that I found, and one of the things I dreaded most, was not just walking up and down the stairs in the mornings, but going to work and putting my shoes on. That was an absolute effort. Sitting down, I would grab hold of the bottom of my trousers, lift my leg onto my knee, do my laces up, and vice versa. And this was because of the pain and also because of the weight, which seemed to be increasing. Now, one of the symptoms of polymyalgia is a loss of weight, but I was carrying a lot of weight. Christmas time, Christmas was ruined. I couldn't sit down for Christmas dinner. I couldn't go to my parents for Boxing Day. I was in so much pain. I even phoned the doctor on Boxing Day as well, and they told me to go in after the Christmas period, which I did. So basically, the doctor said, reluctantly, they said to me, look, we'll treat it as polymyalgia. We'll give you a course of steroids, and if it is polymyalgia, then within 24 hours, the symptoms will go. And that's exactly what happened. I took these steroids, the inflammation went down, and the pain went, but it wasn't, it wasn't the right way to treat that ailment. So it went, but it came with other problems then. My blood pressure went up. I was put on Ramipril. I had terrible acid reflux. I was put on Lanzaparol, I believe it's called. My asthma inflamed. I had asthma. I had 2 types of pump on asthma. And it just went on there. We went into 2016 and my weight started to balloon. I went up to 17 stone 4. And to be honest with you, I'm only 5 foot and 5'3", 5'4". I'll say 5'3". I'm short, you know, and 17 stone 4 is just too much for somebody of my height to carry. I had a 44-inch waist, and my trousers was in that. So I was in a state. But coming up to August time, July, August, I decided that I was going to do something about it. 2016, this is now. And I decided to go on what I'd normally do, and that is a low fat diet, you know, swapping out the white bread for whole grain, swapping out the white pasta for brown pasta, not swapping out the white rice for brown because I didn't like it, but doing these sort of things, you know, and eating so many times a day. But so that was in August, and I was doing that, and within 2-3 weeks, I'd lost, you know, barely lost about 8 pounds. But what I found during that time is that the hunger was just overwhelming. I would get home from work, and because my food needed to be cooked, I would put my food in the oven because it was oven chips or a jack potato or something like that because it's healthy. And I would go to bed for half an hour. I'd set my timer. I'd go to bed because I didn't want to be awake while my food was cooking because I didn't have the patience to wait for it to cook. So that's where I was. And but I was still on all the medication. And then I saw a friend of mine, a work colleague actually, and he walked past my office one day in work. I hadn't seen him for a while because of the shifts that they were working. I was on days, and I thought, what's he doing? So I went out into the factory area, and I said, Rod, come here a minute and come to the office. I said, what have you been doing? You've lost a lot of weight. Is everything all right? You know, you lost weight and everything. And he goes, but he looked fit as well. He looked healthy. And he said, I got to be honest with you, I've cracked the code. That's what he said to me, the words, I've cracked the code. And I said, what do you mean? And he started telling me about low carb, high fat. And he was telling me what he was doing. And I was really interested in this. And so what I decided to do is to do the research myself and look into it and look at various YouTube channels and podcasts and read up on certain things. And I started hearing this phrase ketogenic. So I decided to go on the ketogenic. So it's August of 2016, I went onto the ketogenic diet. I didn't do any exercise. I couldn't because of the pain, because of the weight. I just would have been detrimental really to do that to my joints. After I got up to about Christmas time, and I'd lost 3.5 stone by then, by Christmas. And I just started to do a little bit of running, a lot of walking and stuff like that. But just to say, so I was 17 stone 4 when I started this journey. It's 242 pounds. By March of 2017, I had lost 70 pounds of weight. And it was amazing really, because it wasn't just the weight loss, it was the fog that we get, that we often hear people talking about, the fog that's lifted. The energy was just through the roof, you know, just going at it all day, up early in the morning, without jumping out of bed with a spring in my step, if you like, and off I would go into the day. And it was just recently I was looking at some old emails, and I saw a notification of Fitbit. And it came in May of 2017, and I looked at that, and it said, congratulations, 75 pound loss. So I'd actually lost 75 pound at that point. I started doing a little bit of running, and the rest of it got that bug, and was doing 5Ks, 10Ks. And then on my 50th birthday of 2017, June the 19th, 2017, I applied for a local 10K run, and I ran that. And to me, it was this really, that it was from that point, from being as I was in 2016, around about the same time, June, July, August, to the point of running on my 50th birthday a 10K run in the sweltering heat. Managed to do it, and it was all down to the fact that I had changed my dietary habits and had moved into the ketogenic diet. So I have a lot to be thankful for the ketogenic diet and for the various foods that I was eating. So my why, carnivore, my journey continuing. It hasn't always been plain sailing. There's been ups and downs, and I constantly remind myself, for this not just for the keto way of eating, but also the carnivore way of eating, is that one of the biggest whys that I've got is that I realize my whys through my failures. If I fail by eating something that's going to be detrimental to my health, then it is detrimental to my health, and I have a reaction to that. And that's one of the biggest whys I get as well. Why am I doing this? Because these certain foods are causing me an issue. We come up to 2020, 2021, and I was, still following a low carb ketogenic lifestyle, and there was no turning back from that. And then one day, as many people do, I was listening to, as I did, I listened to quite a few of Joe Rogan's podcasts, and here we are again. He came along, Joe Rogan with Sean Baker, and I listened to that, and really did catch my attention. So I thought, this is amazing. So I decided that I would give the carnivore diet a go, and I haven't looked back since, because if you look at different levels from low carb to ketogenic to carnivore, then the carnivore is, to me, at a different level. I remember seeing a friend of mine back when I just started on the carnivore diet in 2021, and I saw him in a car park of a superstore there, and he came out and he said to me, "Carl," he said, "are you still doing the keto diet?" I said, "Yeah, I've been doing the keto diet for a while, but I'm actually doing carnivore now." And that intrigued him. He said, "What do you mean?" And I was explaining to him, "I only eat animal products. I don't eat any vegetables anymore." And this guy, he also started going into the ketogenic diet. But what was good about him is that he owned a cafe in town and started doing keto breakfasts and some keto meals as well, which was good. But yeah, so the journey was from keto through to 2021, and I started on the carnivore diet then. And like I said, it's just a different level for me. With regards, well, unless you may ask a question, I don't know, but with regards to my medication, the first thing was the acid reflux. So I had a word with the doctor, and before I was on the medication, I used to drink bottles from the bottle, which I would never recommend. Never recommended of the Gaviscon, and I would drink it because it would be so much. It would get me up in the night. I would jump out of bed because the acid reflux would come up, and it would go down your airway. You couldn't for a moment. You'd wake up, in fright, in shock, because if this was happening, panicking, and then calm yourself down. But that's what I was doing. Lanzaparol was put on. That medication stopped. The acid reflux is gone. The asthma, I was put on asthma clinic. I was taken off asthma clinic. That prescription stopped. I was on the blue and also the steroid, the brown one. That's gone. The polymyalgia has never returned. I went on the steroids, but I've never had problems. But if I do eat certain foods, then pains come back. So I stay away from those foods. And then it was the last thing to go was just about, I would say, 2 or 3 months ago. I've been checking regularly my blood pressure. I phoned up the doctor. I had a word with a little bit of a chat with over the phone. Sorry, a gentleman it was, and then told him what my blood pressure was. I'm happy for you to come off your tablets now. So Ramipril, that's gone as well. So I am absolutely on 0 medication at the moment. So, and one thing that a lot of people say as well is that this has been said to me many times, that you don't seem to get a cold, you don't seem to get ill, and you don't. It's just a great lifestyle, and I appreciate what happened to me through the ketogenic lifestyle, and then going on to the carnivore lifestyle as well. It's been great.
That is amazing, and I'll give you 10 out of 10 for your summary of your life there. Brilliant. That was just stunning. Thank you so much for that. There's a few bits there that you were a bit cheeky with my question, but I will return the favor of the joke, because hearing about Joe Rogan and the Sean Baker podcast, yes, that comes up so much. I know. So influential for so many people. One thing just quickly, the polymyalgia you said has never returned, but if you eat certain foods, you do feel pains and stuff. So you stay away from those foods. What are those foods that you stay away from? Well,
first of all, I mean, if I do, and I said, like I said to you, it hasn't been all plain sailing. I'm not perfect in any way. We're all human and we do slip. But on occasions, if I do introduce a little bit of, if it's a bit of rice or pasta in a meal, then I would get that inflammation again. If I eat some bread, stay away from bread, I'd get that inflammation again. That's terrible. But what I found recently, and throughout the keto diet, obviously eating the macros, the way the macros are with the low carb, the moderate protein, and the high fat. I love cheese. I love cheese, and I've loved cheese throughout the carnivore diet as well as just to add to your meal. And but what I found going back just a few months ago is that I was getting some pains in my fingers, particularly my little finger, and I thought to myself perhaps I'd knocked it, or I might have. It felt like I chipped a bone or something. It was hurting. It's going on for some time, but with the way that I was eating at the moment, I was adding quite a lot of cheese. I was only having cheese every day, and not every meal, but one meal. If I was eating two or one meal, whatever it might be, I would add some cheese. So what I decided to do is cut out that cheese, and the pain in the finger is gone. So I done a little bit of experiment on myself. I had some cheese. The pain came back. So I'm staying away at the moment. Sad really, because I do like cheese, and I would like to eat it, and but I can't. Maybe there'll be a point in time when I can introduce that back in again, but that's what the other thing as well, if I could mention, is that also introducing some vegetables as well. I don't find that there's an issue with that really, but if I do then stop, if it's been a period of time that I've been eating them and then I stop eating it, then I do get that dumping, that oxalate dumping, and I do get the pain in the fingers, which I think is probably for everybody, and maybe another avenue to go down. But with regards to the inflammation, yeah, it's those certain foods. So introducing those, and that's what I said to you when people ask the why. Well, the why is in the failures. I fail, I eat something, and then I realize, oh, that's why I do it. So
yeah, it's a good reminder. I mean, that's a good point. And never feel. This is for you and anyone else who's going to come on and talk about the success stories, that I'm perfect, because I'm not. I mean, I had spaghetti bolognese on Friday night because my wife was saying, do you remember when we used to make spaghetti bolognese? I quite missed that. So we did it. And the first couple of bites of spaghetti were not good for me. I liked the beef, basically. I didn't like the tomatoes, and it's just something I would possibly do maybe once every 6 months, because I didn't feel it was great. And I miss just having a big juicy ribeye and feeling so great and satiated. But yes, we all do it. I suppose that brings us nicely on to just a quick question then. When you went on this journey, what did, even going back to 2015, 16, what did your friends and family think that you were going to do? Low carb, keto? Were they sort of supportive, or did they think you were being stupid doing it?
Well, bit of both really. They thought I was absolute bonkers for doing it. Yes, stupid, but also they were supportive as well. My wife was supportive. Been married now for 28 years to my wife, and yeah, she supported me. She let me get on with it. She would sometimes prepare some meals for me, but predominantly I would do my own. They never really come on this journey with me, to be honest with you, which is a sad thing, because I know that it would help them in a lot of health issues that they face. Both my wife and my daughters. I've got 4 daughters, and but yeah, supportive in that way, but also thinking I'm a little bit nuts. Particularly, I mean, there's been times when again I've been out shopping and we've been out together, and I see a friend and they haven't seen me for a while, and they say, oh, what have you been doing? And then at that point my wife will roll her eyes around her head, go, oh, here we go again. And she would say, oh, don't ask him that question, because he won't shut up about it, and he'll just keep on and on and on. So I do get that. And but yeah, and I'm talking to my parents about it. My mother suffers from osteoporosis. My father, they're both in their 80s now. My father's had some terrible trouble with cancers, and you look at them, and I just wish that they could have been steered in this way of eating as well, because I think it would have helped. It would have helped, and that's basically what I I tell people. But there are, you come across people even today. I mean, I've recently started a new job back in April, and I talking to the lady at the reception, and she said she saw me with some food. I was walking along with my lunchbox. She goes, "Oh, what you got in there?" And I told her I got mince. She goes, "No, that's right, mince." And she goes, "Oh, what are you having with it?" I said, "I'm just having the mince." And then she says, "So, what do you eat then?" I said, "Oh, I like having a bit of steak." And I tell her, I say, "Oh, what do you have with it then? Do you have chips with it? No. Do you have this? Do you have that?" And I say, "No." And she just looked at me and says, you're winding me up. You're joking with me now, aren't you?" And I said, "No, I'm being absolutely serious." And then she kind of took the look of confusion on her face. But yeah, you do get different people. But my family as a core have been supportive to me, although I haven't come along on this journey, which is sad, really. I wish they would realize it themselves.
It's a strange thing because, this friend you saw who cracked the code,
Yeah.
nothing beats seeing results with your own eyes. The press, the media can tell you follow the guidelines, but if you see someone and they look so much better and healthier, that's much more convincing. And I feel your pain there where you're saying about your wife and daughters support you but don't follow this way of eating, because it is frustrating. And I think, strangely enough, the hardest part about being carnivore is you want everyone else to do it because it will improve their situation, and it's very hard because you don't, like your wife said, "Oh, here we go, you'll never shut him up now." It's very difficult because you're only thinking about them. But sadly, you're fighting a big tsunami of misinformation from the guidelines.
Exactly.
And it does always surprises me, but it's really common, your situation, that people around you won't do it, even though you've completely turned your health and life around. And but there you go. You can't make people do stuff, but eventually maybe they'll come to your way of thinking. You've got 4 daughters, possibly one will do it, and then another one. You might have a domino effect. Right. So let's do some nitty gritty, because people always like to know these sort of things. What's your meal frequency? Are you doing 1 meal a day, 2 meals, or do you not even bother with that?
To be honest, if I feel hungry, I'll eat. I predominantly do 2 meals, but I do swing back and forth from 2 to 1 meal a day. So it all depends on how I feel. What I'm trying to do, and something that I'd never been able to do with as I said earlier on, the traditional, if you like, we can call it that, way of dieting, when they tell you, eat little, eat often, eat low fat, eat this and the other. Always hungry, always starving, but not allowing yourself really to be able to listen to what your body's telling you. And that's the point that I'm aiming to, or I've aimed to get to, that I want to be intuitive, and listen to what my body says. If I feel hungry, I'll eat. I'll eat until I've had enough, and then I stop eating. But I do tend to do 2 meals a day, and then sometimes I'm on 1 meal a day.
What I was going to say, what do you drink? Do you drink coffee or just water?
Yeah, when I said I only do, I'm 85 to 90%. I do drink coffee. It's one of those things that I am looking to reduce. I have reduced it. Hence my name, Haversy. My father is Hungarian, right? So I, brought up with, you go to Hungary, you have strong coffees, almost like liquor, and that's what I'm like. I drink almost espresso strength coffee on a regular basis, and that's what I was drinking quite a lot. So I'm reducing that down. So I do drink coffee, but I drink my water. I like my sparkling water. I used to be a big Diet Coke, again, because that's what they told you should drink, Diet Coke, Diet this, that, and the other. But no, it's just water. But I do drink coffee now and again as well. And I also got the old the electrolyte drink as well, which I've come to enjoy.
Yeah. What's the flavour of your electrolyte drink? Because I've got one of Keto Pro's ones.
I got Keto Pro's.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So there'll be a link in the description if you're interested in Richard Smith's Keto Pro electrolyte drink. I love how you slipped in that you lost a lot of weight without any exercise, and then by your 50th birthday you decided to exercise, and I really like that. That's again a common thing in these stories where you're not doing it for weight loss, you're doing it for health. And Do you keep running now, or was that a little phase you just went through?
No. Well, I was running. It became addictive to me, to be honest with you. It was around 2017, going into 2018. I was running quite a lot, but I did. I think I've done 2 half marathons, and my last half marathon that I did, I had problems with my knee. It just went too stiff, and I had to stop running, walking. But so I stopped a bit of running then. I have started back to doing a bit of running because I did a weighted walk challenge in July for Help for Heroes, and it was with a pack on of around about 20 to 30 pound I was putting on this, and I had to walk 150 miles through the month, and it was getting up out there through the trails and everything that we got. I mean, we live in an area, we are tremendously blessed really with the area that I live in, and I started back in August doing running. And the reason I started back in August, so what I'm trying to do is set myself goals and challenges. So I entered a local 10K trail run. And so I thought, right, I've entered that. It was just 2 weeks ago, actually. And I didn't start running until August, because I got this challenge out of the way in July. And then August, I started running, and I managed to get around the 6-mile route on that. So I've done that, and then I was right, I'm going to set myself another goal now. So I am running a little bit more, not running as much as I used to, but what I'm doing and what I want to do is I want to get up there in the trails, because just getting out there onto the mountains, the forestries is just wonderful. I also do resistance training as well every day.
Ah, okay. What sort of stuff? What equipment have you got?
Well, I do and I think I've asked you this, asked you a question on one of your Sunday lives. I do the X3 bar, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do the X3. It just accommodates my lifestyle at the minute. I train in the morning. I do a bit of running every so often, every other day. But every day I do this 10, 15 to 20, maybe 20 minutes little routine on the X3 bar, and I've found that to be absolutely tremendous, really. Because what I found with the ketogenic diet is that because of the moderate protein that I was on, I've always been, even though I was short, I've always been quite stocky, because I was, I used to do a lot of weight training when I was in my late teens, early 20s. And I found that I just looked at my muscle as if it was just all disappearing. There was nothing there. I had no definition. Since I've been on the carnivore diet, and since I've been doing the X3 as well, I'm starting to get some muscle back, and that's because of that I do put an emphasis on protein along with fats, and then with the resistance training as well, because I wasn't doing resistance training when I used to run back in 2017-18. I was just running only, and I was starting to look like a runner as well.
Yes.
But that runner's look.
Yes.
But I am, but the X3 is what I do, and I find it very beneficial, and it complements my lifestyle at the moment.
Yeah, it's very interesting, because it's like listening to my story, because I look back at pictures of me when I was doing keto and half marathons, and all I see is this gaunt looking person, better than when I was high carb, obviously, not tubby and in pain, like you say. And it's interesting, because I stopped doing the half marathons because I had knee pain that was keeping me up at night. It's inflamed and hot and painful. So yeah, your journey is very similar to mine. I mean, I've brought back into my life sprinting, which is something I've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So I do like 100-meter sprints three or four times a week. And I think the X3 bar is fabulous bit of kit, actually, and I saw the same as you. I saw muscle going on, so that's really brilliant. So I just want to ask you a couple of other things. I was taking some notes there.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone back to your doctor and said about the PMR that it's gone completely? I did it with diet. Has the medical profession taken any notice of this?
Yeah, well, not to the PMR, but obviously to the because I was on Ramapril for blood pressure, and they've got to keep an eye on the kidneys because of one of the side effects being detrimental to the kidney. So I was going back for regular blood checks, and I've just recently had another one. And this all bore from I realized after I lost all my weight, I had a lump in my stomach. So I went to the doctor at this, and this was going around about mid. This was actually before I was going to do the Cardiff half marathon in 2017. So I was a bit worried that they were going to operate on me and I wouldn't be able to do the run. So he asked me, and one of the questions he asked me in that was, when did you notice that you had this hernia? Because that's what it is. He said it's a hernia. You know, they were quite confident that. And I said, well, I've lost a lot of weight, and then I think to myself, oh, now I've got an opportunity to talk about the ketogenic, low carb lifestyle and whatever. So I said to him, I've lost a lot of weight by following the ketogenic diet and blah blah blah. And he said, that's a low carb and protein, and you're going to waste away. You're going to waste away. You're going to make yourself ill. You've got to come off it. And he wasn't concerned about my hernia any longer. He was only concerned about the fact that I was on this diet, even though I had come off some medication, even though I'd lost this weight. And he was just trying to talk me out of going on. He said, right, I'm gonna send you. I want you to give some bloods, and I want to look at your cholesterol. So I said, well, fair enough. So they took some of the blood and they went off to analyst. A couple of weeks later, I had a phone call. I was on my way home from work, a phone call, and it's the surgery. We've had your test results back for your cholesterol. Would you please make an appointment to come and see the doctor? And I thought to myself then, I'd only been on this journey for X amount of months, and I thought, oh no, what's happened? What have they seen? What have they thought? So I went to see the doctor, but I didn't see that doctor. I saw a different doctor, a lady doctor on this occasion. I went in, and I noticed straight away that as I went in there, she had medals everywhere in her room, and there were Ironman medals and all this sort of thing. So I sat down, and she says, right, Mr. Havesy, what can I do for you, and what's the problem? I said, well, I've been asked to come back in because of my blood results, my cholesterol. And she says, all right then. So she went on, she tapped on the keyboard, she looked at the screen, and she looked at me, and then she looked at the screen, and she said, well, what's the problem then? I said, well, I don't know. I said, you guys have called me back in. She goes, well, I can't see that there's an issue. So I said to her, and I said, look, it's probably because of the diet that I follow. And the doctor that I saw 2 weeks ago wasn't happy with that. And he wanted me to. And she said these words to me. She said, let me tell you this now. You probably know more about nutrition than that doctor you saw 2 weeks ago. And that she said that about one of her own colleagues, which I thought was amazing. And then she asked me, what do you do? And I started to talk to her about the lifestyle I was on. And she said, she just said, look, and then she don't get me started on it. And she started, so she's completely anti-sugar, and she's all about the anti-sugar, and it was great. But, there are times when you're able to talk to doctors like that, and it's just great, because another occasion, fast forward now I'm on the carnivore diet, still having these tests because I'm still on the Ramapril at that point. My blood pressure, my cholesterol has gone up into double figures. So I have a letter. You may want to consider statins. And so I was a bit, I didn't like this. So I phoned again, asked for another interview with the doctor. And but I asked him if I could have a breakdown of what that made up that total score. So I was talking to a young girl doctor at the time, and she goes, oh, you want to know what the break? And she went straight on to it must have been like a script, really. Oh, well, you can go on statins, she says, but it is quite low, and maybe something you want to consider. But if you want to go on them, we'll put. And I said, look, I don't want to go on statins because I think that the side effects of those far outweigh anything that issues that you think I may have. And she goes, oh, you want to know the breakdowns? I said, yeah, can you tell me my HDL, what was it before, my LDL, the rest of it? And the HDL had gone down, the LDL had gone up. I asked her what the particles were. She didn't have that information. And then I asked her what my triglycerides were. They had gone down. I said, well, that's good then, isn't it? So I started talking to her, and I said, look, I'm awful sorry for just going on and on and on, talking about this. And she says, no, I got to tell you, she said, it's an absolute breath of fresh air to be able to talk to somebody like you, she said. And she goes, the problem that we've got is that we all our education and nutrition is all based on old literature and outdated papers, and that's what we still are taught. So that was another great, and I had another good conversation with the doctor when I was taking off my my blood pressure tablets, which was just a few moments ago. But with the PMR, going back to your original question, no, not really. Nobody's spoken to me about that. They were really reluctant to diagnose me with that, to be honest with you, because of my age and because of the CPR or the CRP. And but I have had good conversations with doctors over the other medication that I have, and also with my cholesterol results as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, that's a heartening story. I know there was a couple of bits there where you're encountering doctors telling you gotta get off this diet, even though you're looking better and you're coming off medications. Again, that is a constant bugbear for me, because, like I said earlier, the evidence of your own eyes is very important, and people should be taking note, really. Anyway, Karl, is there anything that you feel that you'd like to say? Because I tend to sort of wrap up with this final question, which is, if someone is contemplating maybe doing carnivore or keto, but is on the fence, sort of what if you were the person that's walked past someone's office and they've run out to you and said, wow, you look good, I'm thinking about doing this, what would you say to them?
Well, what would I say to them? Well, to be honest with you, what I would say is that, first of all, if you are on the fence on this, there's one thing you've got to consider. Now, I listen to I subscribe to a lot of YouTubers in the carnivore keto space. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I try and read as much as I can. One of the things that, and I would say to that person, one of the things that amazes me most every day, really, is the way that our bodies are so wonderfully made. Now, there are two camps here we could go down. You could go down the evolution camp, or you could go down the creation camp, whatever it might be. Whichever way it is, whichever way you would go down, I tend to go down, because, like I said, I'm in a chapel here. I go down the creation route, the Christian. There's a verse in the Bible in Psalm 39 that says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We're fearfully and wonderfully made, and even from an evolution perspective, our bodies are so amazing. And that's the thing that staggers me every day, really, as I go through this journey, as I started and go through the journey. One thing I'm amazed at is the way that our bodies are able to, how we were originally evolved or designed, how we originally were made. And I think that the low carb, ketogenic, carnivore way of living is the way that we are supposed to live and function as human beings on this earth, because like I said, our bodies are wonderful, and the things that happen in our bodies are truly wonderful. When you're looking at the way that the way that ketones are developed within our bodies through the liver and absolutely amazing. I'm always staggered when I hear people such as yourself and other experts on this who've really gone down the rabbit holes. It's tremendously encouraging to people like me, who are the listeners, who try and support in any way that we can through hitting the like and the subscribes, doing all these things. Utterly amazed, and I'm so grateful as well recently to be able to have connected with Keto Pro, if I may give them a mention. I am, truly, thankful for that, particularly with Richard's knowledge that he's got as well. And I've actually asked him to come and do a meeting here, because there's so many people that could benefit, not just for those that I've met through running and who do endurance kind of events, but I know a lot of some people who suffer from polymyalgia, fibromyalgia, diabetes. These people could benefit so much by going back to as we hear so many times, the proper human diet. And I think that's what I would tell people. Your body is marvelous, is a marvelous machine. And if we feed it right, if we give the right nutrients, the right macros, it'll function in the way it's supposed to function. That's what I would say to that person.
Carl, that was amazing. That was really, really good. Did you enjoy doing that?
I did, yes, yeah. No, I just thank you for the opportunity, because you do get passionate about these things, and you can see that it can help a lot of people in a lot of ways. And I got friends who are just a couple of years younger than me, who've had double hip replacements, and the rest of it through Crohn's and and you just think, I wish that I had come to on this journey earlier. I wish that so much, that I'd started on this journey, on this way of life, so much earlier than what I did. And maybe it would have, for one reason only, because I maybe had an opportunity to influence more people than what I've done so far, because it would have been a longer time in this lifestyle. But I do appreciate this, and I thank you for the opportunity to be able to just share some of my story with you.
No, it's fine. I mean, I'm honoured that people want to come on, and I love hearing everyone's story. It is amazing, and the similarities between the way you're thinking and how I feel. I mean, I really do say virtually every week at some point, I wish I knew then what I know now.
Yeah.
And that can go back even to my 20s when I did a bodybuilding show. I looked awesome. I was a good sports person, but I know I would have been better long term if I hadn't have eaten all the carbs and all the porridge and oatmeal and fruit and all that. So I think it's just very humbling, and it's very kind of you, what you just said. It's very nice to listen to what I do, but I try to let people like you speak, because that's the best thing, that personal experience. And I know people like Bart Kay talk about anecdotes. It's just anecdotes, but anecdotes, if you've got 100 anecdotes, that's serious data, that is. And if the same things keep coming up, then it's meaningful. And I think even the big influencers, I think Eric Berg's got something like, I don't know, 7,000 success stories, and Sean Baker's definitely got into the thousands of success stories. So yeah, it was really nice to hear from you there. And it was nice that you mentioned Richard, who was recently in my life. I mean, it was Adam, who calls himself the fat addict. I interviewed him. I didn't know Richard, and he did a sort of similar thing to you, mentioned Richard. And I thought, oh, this Richard guy sounds really good. I'll have to get in contact with him. So I think the influence you have and the inspiration from this 45 minutes will be quite far reaching and very surprising, because
I hope so,
it will do that. And without getting too philosophical, I mean, the more you learn about the human body, the more you're amazed. And you're absolutely right. And I've had this conversation with many people. It's sometimes so complex and so beautifully designed, and I use that word, with inverted commas. You think it must have been designed because it's so elegant, it's so fantastic. But I also understand the evolutionary point of view, that it's millions, if not billions, of years of evolution. If you had that time to develop something, it would end up being perfect. But the bottom line is, whatever you believe, you've got to treat it right. And I think Richard uses the thing about, you can run a car on seed oils, but you can't live off diesel or something like that, and I think we've got to look at what we are eating. And as you say, the proper human diet, when you look at stable isotope testing of long bones, every single continent, every single era of humans, that's what we've eaten, predominantly animal protein and fats. So we've, however you look at it, we're designed to eat that. That's the point I'm making, because that's what we've done. That's what we've evolved. If we've evolved, that's how we've evolved. And if that's what we were designed to eat in the first place, that's what we should be eating now. And it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Because people eat these modern foods, alleged foods, and all we've seen is more sickness, more obesity, more diabetes, more heart attacks. And it correlates with the reduction in red meat, the reduction in fats and butters and things like that, and the increase in seed oils and high carbohydrate foods and all these processed foods. So to me, it seems like a no-brainer. To be honest, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've kept you a bit too long now. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's great. No, that's great.
Did you
Yeah.
feel you've missed anything that you want to tag on, or are you
Uh,
happy with what you spoke about?
Not really. Only that I would. I do predominantly with regards to what meats I eat. I have gone over towards more ruminant now. So I do, mince, and I do ribeyes, and I do lamb now and again, and maybe. I tell people I've had a treat over the weekend. I had myself a treat, and they say, "What's that?" I had some pork. That's my treat now. So it's not that I have, I've had some chocolate, I've had some chips, or I've had some ice cream. It's that I've had some pork, or might be I've had a bit of chicken.
Yeah,
but, not so much these days, but more so. I mean, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, I just concentrate having that, taking mince into work with some eggs. And then I get home and I have a ribeye with eggs. And then maybe sometimes on a weekend, I might have a pork shoulder or something like that, just a couple to go with my mince and my eggs. So that's the only thing I do with regards to what I'm eating now at the minute.
Wow, that was a fabulous interview. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you like that sort of thing, I recommend you watch this one next.